I'm Patrick King, and this is Synthwave Ultra. The question, is Synthwave dead, is regularly brought up and always sparks intense debate and discussion among fans and artists alike. Bursting onto the scene in 2020 with track after slickly produced track, polished to a mirror shine and each better than the last, he has repeatedly proven that Synthwave is very much alive and well. My guest this week is Rogue VHS. Is music your primary thing?
Yeah, so I quit my job. Well, I like to say I quit my job. The company was liquidated in April that I worked for as the head of production, and I kind of took it for granted that it would give me a leg up into my next job. I spent 3 months looking for a job and basically just decided, you know what, fuck this. I don't know. I don't know if the swearing things are loud, so just let me know. I'll keep swearing. So I thought, I'm gonna stop looking for a job and I'm gonna take this to the next level, the music stuff, because I could see that it was gonna reach that point eventually. So yeah, after 3 months, I just took music on full time, and I'm doing mixing, mastering for people, doing remixes, to get the money coming in.
Nice.
Loving it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, because it seems like a lot of folks will do that. They'll do mixing, mastering, engineering, production, stuff like that, in addition to doing their synth projects. Yeah,
exactly. They go hand in hand. Especially if you've got people that listen to your music and are also producers themselves. I find that's where most of my work comes from. People who just say, "Oh, I really like your sound. I'd like my sound to be more like yours," kind of thing. And I try and give people some stuff to work with as well for their own music. So I don't just hand them back the finished project and just say, there you go. I try and give constructive criticism and feedback wherever possible.
Yeah, that's great, because that is definitely the thing. Is that a lot of the stuff just kind of not that it exists in a vacuum, but just there needs to be constructive criticism and feedback, just so that people can actually grow and improve, because
Exactly.
Stuff like that is kind of because otherwise everything starts to sound all samey, and gets into it brings up to the whole thing of, is Synthwave dead, just because but when stuff starts to sound kind of samey, it's okay, I can see where people can get that from, but there's so much growth and evolution that it's not.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, that question. I used it for a while just to get some more traction on my posts, right? Because I've always got that in the back of my mind. How can I leverage this topic or this, this meme or this quote to my own benefit? But on a more serious note, is Synthwave dead? I think the people who say that, well, first of all, it's wrong. No genre ever truly dies.
Right.
As long as there are people, creating that kind of music. But I think people are focusing on the wrong music if they think Synthwave is dead. They should be looking to the pioneers of the genre, the pioneers from, say 2015 was now. You've got FM84 and Ollie Ride, Gunship, even Tonebox. You should be trying to find those guys, in today's times, not dwelling in the past too much. And I find that's another issue with Synthwave as well, is that it revolves almost exclusively around that time period. It's like the music exists nowadays. There is current music to listen to, guys.
Yeah, for sure.
you can move out of the comfort zone of 2015.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting point too, because it seems like a lot of stuff. There are at this point, it's been around. It's still obviously a very new and niche genre, but it's been around long enough where there's almost eras. You've got the kind of proto synthwave, where the pre 2010 stuff, and then you get into whenever they kind of got big with the Midnight FM84. Folks like that, and now when you get into it now, there are folks who are pushing further pushing the style, bringing in outside outside elements and influences and that sort of thing. So yeah, that is a really good point. Even though it's still relatively new, like there's still like there's almost like distinct eras of synthwave now.
Yeah,
you've got like the
they truly are.
yeah, like the pre 2010 stuff. The pre 2010 stuff that kind of like led into like Drive with Kavinsky, College, Electric Youth, that sort of thing. And then when it really started to get bigger around 2015, 2016 with like the Midnight FM84, folks like that. And then now you got people who are like further pushing the genre and bringing in other outside influences and just helping it grow and evolve.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Yeah, I wonder where the next 5 years will take us.
Mm-hmm.
Will it last 5 years? It will, is the answer, guys.
Oh yeah, yeah, because that's like the whole point. It's like, oh yeah, it's this like retro nostalgia thing, but like you still have to keep it moving forward, even if it's embracing that like synth core,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I think as long as synthesizers exist, synthwave will exist. And I mean, I think synthwave really is anything with synth in my mind, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Where synths play, because I call my music synthwave, but in reality, it's kind of almost more EDM. EDM drums, EDM. I'd like to say EDM production.
Mm-hmm.
And it just happens to have synths in it. But I don't think it really matters what you call your music. If you want to call your music synthwave, call it that, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's because I know I'm definitely of the same mind of that. Like I know that I've heard other folks talking about that. Like I know Andy Last from Beyond Synth has mentioned that too. How like it all falls under like the big synthwave umbrella, and then you've got like little subgenres here and there. So you got like synth pop, dark synth, cyberpunk, et cetera. But like it all falls under the big synthwave banner, which yeah, exactly. Because I mean, like you look at folks like yourself. I mean, your stuff kind of tends to have more of the kind of darker, like cyberpunk sci-fi tinge to it. But then you look at, let's say, like you look at somebody like, I mean, the Midnight is just kind of the obvious example. Their stuff has always been a little poppier and like a little more, I guess, like emotive and that sort of thing. But it still falls under that same umbrella.
Exactly. And yeah, just going back to talking about my darker stuff, I have darker stuff like the Akira track, and then also the really down tempo chilled stuff, and it's all synthwave, which is, it works perfectly for me because I do exist on both ends of that spectrum, and I enjoy writing both styles, the more chilled and then the more the heavier. So it really is a great genre.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, because that's the thing too. Like I've got like my huge playlist, and there's just such a variety of stuff in there that I think that's one of the things that's cool about it too, is that there's something for everybody.
Exactly.
So I guess for Reed specifically, so how did you get into like the whole like synthwave retrowave thing?
Yeah, so it was 2018, maybe late 2017. And I heard Carpenter Brutes. I want to say, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that name. He's French.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
anyway, doesn't matter. I heard his remix of Tech Noir, and I was like, "What the hell is this? What's going on here?" And I was already producing quite a lot of music for clients. So I'd written, well, going back to 2010. Electronic music, dance music, orchestral music, game soundtracks, everything. So I tried my hand at synthwave and failed miserably for 2 years. Something I kept coming back to about, I'd say, every month. And then late 2019, I just had a break. I found there was 3 patches. I think the bass, the chords, and a lead that I all liked the sound of together, and it all just clicked. And that's pretty much where my journey started as Rogue VHS.
Nice. Yeah, because that's the thing too, is that like I know with you specifically, like I feel like you just kind of burst onto the scene with, I think you had like one or two tracks like right off the bat that were like really just like really good, really slickly produced, and like they made a big splash. Because I remember like when you were first starting out, you just had I think it was just like maybe 2 or 3 tracks out, but you were already, a pretty big deal from what I was seeing. So that's pretty impressive to to hit the ground running like that.
Yeah. So it was really Pale Blue because that was my second track. My first track was When the World Stands Still, and that was the moment I was describing earlier, where I was like, this is clicked. Something's happening here. And then I released Pale Blue. Well, going back to when I was writing Pale Blue, I remember thinking, this is it. This is me. This encapsulates my style perfectly. I remember lying in bed thinking, what vocal am I going to put behind that track? And then, almost as if like some kind of prophetic vision, Carl Sagan just pops into my head. Some kind of divine inspiration, and it worked perfectly. And I knew that I had something special then, and actually I still go back and I try and capture that magic, which is the wrong thing to do. You should always be moving on and not looking back if you can help it. But yeah, I'm really glad you enjoyed that, and also thank you for stroking my ego.
Of course, it's part of the fun of this is being like, oh yeah, like I really really enjoy your stuff, because I mean, like I do genuinely enjoy your stuff, and I think that's one of the cool things too, is that like I feel like there's a lot of synthwave out there, and like most of it is really good. I mean, it's like good to like most of it's like good to excellent. So it's hard not to like it for sure.
Thank you, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. There's so much good synthwave out there, especially now. I'm gonna name drop a few guys. So Neon Boulevard, insanely good. He was asking me for tips the other day, and I'm like, dude, what? No, I should be asking you for tips. So shout out to him. And then, is it Midnight Fury?
Yes, yeah, I do know him. He's really good. I haven't heard of him
Midnight Fury, fantastic. And then who else? I'm just thinking of some guys that I've discovered recently, or recently-ish. And then I would recommend The Great White Dread as well. If you haven't listened to him, I'd say Perturbator.
Yeah, Perturbator.
Cross with Jaws, basically.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I mean, and obviously running a curator profile on Submit Hub, I get sent music all the time, so I don't even have to look for it. I get people sending me great music every day, which is a blessing.
That's awesome. Yeah, because it's kind of funny too, like with my because like I'll do like my daily picks and stuff like that. Like people will DM me and be like, hey, can you put this on there? I'm like, yeah, of course. It's always nice whenever people share their stuff like that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's so I know for you specifically, you've kind of built your brands, like built like the Rogue VHS brand. So you have like your distinct logo, and like you have your avatar and all that. So how did that come about?
Well, a series of iterations, I think. So I'm not really artistically gifted at all, just to be blunt. I don't, I need someone to kind of tell me what I want in a way. So I went through a couple logos, and I'm still honing the brand now. So I'm actually getting a new logo done, but basically it's all just iterative. I'll get something commissioned, I'll sit on it for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, and then if I like it, then it sticks around. If not, then it's just building constantly. I'm getting there, but it takes a long time for someone who really doesn't really struggles to see, to actually think about what looks good and what doesn't. But as my main thanks goes to Ninja Joe, the artist. I'm sure you know her work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone does at this point. But yeah, she sort of updated my avatar, let's say, and I would highly recommend working with her. And that kind of set the scene, really, I think, in my head, and that's guiding a lot of my decisions now in terms of sort of the color palette for the brand, and some of the font styles, and maybe in the future, clothing and merch and stuff like that.
Nice.
So yeah, she really helped mold it.
Yeah, that's cool. Like I didn't realize that she was the one who did your avatar, but I guess like thinking about it now, it does have her very distinct like painterly like her like painterly sci-fi style. Because like I know she does a lot of stuff for I think Cell Dweller and Scandroid, and she's done like a whole bunch of other stuff. But yeah, like she does
Oh yeah.
does have that like really cool distinct style. So yeah, that's a didn't know that. That's awesome. So speaking of styles, so you do have kind of a variety of styles. Like I know we kind of touched on that earlier. You do like some of like the darker kind of cyberpunk stuff, like we were talking about Akira, which I was actually listening to earlier, and you do some like the more like chilled down tempo stuff. So who are some of your influences and inspirations when it comes to stuff like that?
So for the chilled stuff, let's start with, I guess, Tonebox. Almost exclusively Tonebox and Lucy in Disguise.
Mm-hmm.
That was the part of synthwave that really drew me in, particularly Tonebox. And I think even now my music is it's probably sounding more different than I think it does to Tonebox's music, but that's the benchmark I set, and I feel I'm getting fairly close to it. That really is it for the chilled influences, but for the heavier influences, I mean, I've listened to EDM, dubstep early days, like 2008, 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Then onto obviously brostep, drum and bass, techno, wave, psytrance, big fan of. So there's a lot of influence there, and it's hard to say really. I did do a lot of digging around on Spotify. I found like Extra Terror and Vector 7,
Mm-hmm.
And people like that, and it all just kind of amalgamated. It's much more of a sort of like a distorted image, my inspiration for the heavier stuff. But yeah, mainly just from the EDM days. Basically, I've always been a huge EDM fan.
Yeah, that's cool because like that's interesting that you mentioned Extra Terra, because I know like they do some stuff like kind of like they some like in the synthwave and end of things, but they also do like you said, like a lot of like EDM, and it's more like almost like a trance stuff. So like it's cool to see that overlap like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of the electronic dance music overlaps quite heavily. That's why I'm labeling genres to an extent really doesn't matter. I mean, the tempo is the only thing that really defines an electronic genre in my mind. So mid-tempo will be 95 to 110, house is 120 to 130, drum and bass is 165 plus. But in terms of that's the only defining factor. So put the genre boundaries aside just a little bit.
Yeah. Plus two with the genre, like the genres and subgenres, like inevitably it leads to like no, this isn't actually synthwave, no, this isn't actually outrun, and blah blah blah. Just like just shut up and enjoy the music. Come on.
Exactly, Patrick.
That's yeah. And again, if there's ever any kind of anything, there's always going to be people arguing about it.
Yeah, I think the people who are arguing about it they don't know what they're talking about anyway. So I don't think they should be arguing with anyone on the internet in the first place. I think that applies to anyone who's arguing on the internet. But hey, they're going to keep doing it. So
yeah, for sure. So I know I think you've done a couple collaborations here and there. Like, is there anybody you would like who's kind of like your collaboration wish list? Like who's somebody who like you really want to work with?
Yeah. So the top of that list would be Tonebox, of course. Now, the list I'm about to give you, I've actually communicated with them all before, mainly thanks to my playlist. Tonebox would be at the top because his music was the biggest inspiration for me to get into synthwave in the first place. Second would be Wave Shaper. Wave Shaper, I feel, now whether he'd agree with this, with me on this or not, I'm not sure. I feel our styles do have some similarities, especially in the way we handle arpeggios. Third would be Four Hill. I actually did reach out to Four Hill recently. We have been talking. Lucy in Disguise would be fourth.
Mm-hmm.
And then fifth, I'm not sure. I'll leave it at 4 for now.
Okay.
But yeah, those are my top 4, and I'm
Yes.
hoping to have them by the end of next year. Fingers crossed.
Nice. No, that's a good list of folks. A good list of folks. Yeah, because I mean they I'm trying to think. Yeah, Wave Shaper definitely, because I feel like how his stuff has that cool like spacey sound.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched some of the videos of him, playing with his synths, his modular synths live, and it's just like it's a very organic way of writing. It's really, really interesting. It's completely the opposite to how I write music. I'm all digital based. Don't even play the keyboard.
Oh wow!
I dot notes in like Dead Mouse. But yeah, his style has a really nice kind of analog warmth to it, a really nice kind of ruggedness almost that that I just love. So Wave Shaper, if you do end up watching this, I love your music, bro. Give me some brownie points.
There you go. Yeah, that's one of the things that's been fun about the show is name checking and name dropping. It's like a oh yeah, like we all like so and so, or hey so and so if you're watching. So yeah, no, that's really cool because yeah, that is true. He definitely does have that like warm is like a good descriptor for it, because yeah, like it sounds like it has this like really like sci-fi space feel, but like there's like a certain like analog quality to it, which just makes it really unique.
Absolutely. I'm trying to think of another artist that, apart from Luke Ash, would be in the same category that really takes the love of synths to that level. And I thought those are the only two I can think of, honestly. So keep doing you guys, because it's awesome.
Nice. Well, let's see. Yeah. So as I mentioned, like we talked about that a little before, of like promoting yourself and like building your brand and all that. So how have you gone about that? Because like I said, when you came out with some of your early stuff, you just like made a splash. It's like very early on. So yeah. So tell me about that process.
So my sort of promotion strategy since I started, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I knew nothing about promotion, I think, until April 2020, which was 2 months after I released Pale Blue. And I watched a course. I paid for a course on Facebook ads, and it changed my life. To put it simply, changed my life. And suddenly you've been given the keys to, the car. Essentially, you can you're driving your own destiny. So as long as you've got some money to put into ad budget, which I did fortunately at the time, you can drive traffic to whatever you want on the internet, which is so powerful. And then you just learn to refine that process down and down until you're spending the least possible for the maximum gain. So I started doing that, and then I used that to grow playlists, which is where I started to gain leverage with other artists, because I can give them a playlist spot. They're going to give me something in return, maybe collaboration. And that's probably the most important thing that I did as an artist, was actually get playlists with clout, because it will give you the opportunity to work with people that are, way above your pay grade. I'm pretty sure that's why Extra Terror was happy to collaborate with me. I'd like to think it's because he liked the music. I think we released a great track. Trinity was a massive success, and Boris is a great guy. But yeah, get a playlist going, get a few playlists going if you can, make them massive, and everything will work out just okay.
Nice. Yeah, that's a smart way to look at it, because yeah, like that is one of the cool things about Synthwave too, is the whole the whole Synthwave community. Like it's very community oriented, and like people are, people, like from what I've seen, like everybody's always very willing to like spread the word and like share and help out and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it is super helpful. I love the community on Twitter generally. However, I feel, and this point has been touched on a few times by Eliana, and who's the mod of the Outrun Discord, I think. Basically, it can turn into a little bit of a circle jerk. So you have to be careful. You have to make sure that you're balancing feedback and communication with fans equally as with your peers. You can't just have all feedback from peers, because you won't grow as an artist. So I would encourage people to, obviously Twitter is a platform for mainly communicating with peers, I would say. I would encourage people to also try and grow Instagram profiles as well, because that's really where you communicate with fans, and just have them both going at the same time. And you have to post different content for each. But yeah, I do love the community on Twitter. I mean, especially guys like Patrick Spence, Greville. He put me on my first playlist back in February 2020, which was his famous triangle playlist. The blue triangle, purple triangle.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that was a big one for me. So shout out to you, Patrick. Good guy. But yeah, no, very nice people, very nice.
Yeah, that's it. And like it is. That's an interesting point too. Like I guess I didn't realize that about like the peers fans thing on Twitter versus Instagram, because I don't know. I feel like I usually that's what I usually keep to for the synth stuff, is just like Twitter and Instagram, just because those are, I mean, that I feel like that's where most of the engagement is, because like I'll do some stuff on Facebook. Like I have my own little art page on Facebook, but like it's mainly just like my parents liking my stuff. So I'm like, yeah, it's cool, but yeah, I feel like I go more. Yeah, you get more engagement elsewhere.
Yeah, definitely. Facebook. I mean, you can't reach people beyond your sphere. You can't reach people beyond followers unless people are sharing a post, and no one shares no one shares posts on Facebook anymore. At least, in my opinion, they don't. Yeah. Compare that to Instagram, where you're reaching people through hashtags, and as long as the hashtags are good, you're going to be reaching people regardless, new people. Facebook's redundant. The only reason I even post on Facebook now is because Instagram posts on Facebook automatically when you post on Instagram. So yeah, I would also encourage people to not focus on Facebook at all.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a smart approach too. But like I've talked about this with other folks too. I feel like whenever people talk about like synthwave on Facebook specifically, they'll talk about the synthwave Facebook groups and how apparently they're just no, exactly. That's what people's reactions to it. There's just tons of drama and just nonsense. It's just like, nah, it ain't worth it.
Yeah. The synthwave community on Facebook is by and large the worst community of people I think I've ever come across. I've been accused of everything in there. Oh my God. I've been accused, some guy said, "You're not even Rogue VHS." I was like, first of all, I'm not even famous enough. I'm not even like recognized enough for you to be saying that to me. And second of all, like, what? Who are you? Degenerate. I don't know. There's something about Facebook that just inspires like these reactions from people. I don't know. Don't get it.
Because I guess like I'll see people talking like I'm obviously not in any of these Facebook groups, but like I'll see people talking about it on Twitter and just like, still not going anywhere near there. I'll stick around here on Instagram. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably a smart move, Patrick.
That's funny. Cool. Well, you've got your new album coming up, so that's super excited for that. So, and you also mentioned some possible collaborations. So, what's next for Rogue VHS?
Good question. So the album is launching on the 5th of November. After that, well, I feel I've reached a sort of a sound that I'm super happy with, which is what I'll be showing you on the album. After that, it depends. It depends on the success of the album. either I will plan a second album maybe late or mid 2023, so for a 2-year gap, or I will just release singles. I found that the album, obviously my first album that I've ever written, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of self-imposed pressure that I don't think you need these days.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if the album pays off, then like I said, it might be worth doing another one. But I think people, especially in synthwave, put way too much focus on albums. You know, they'll go silent for 2 years and then release an album. It just doesn't work anymore. Like, I didn't stop writing music before my album. I released a single every month. And actually, my album only has 1 track that I've released on it. Oh, sorry, I should say 2, but one's a different version. So, you know, just keep the music consistent. And I think that's really just my goal with Rogue VHS, is just to keep the music coming consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Try and keep evolving. You know, if I can do that, I can't really ask for more.
No, I think that's a really positive mindset, because yeah, like I know that's definitely one of the big debates in synthwave, and also I feel like just kind of in music in general, is the whole like singles versus albums thing. Because on the one hand, with singles, like you said, there's the consistency, like you're consistently like in the public consciousness, but then at the same time you put out an album, and like it's an event when you release the full album.
Yeah, I think if, you know, like you say, you have a big event when you release an album, most artists I see releasing albums do not do that. It's almost like they write an album just so they can get all of the writing done that they really love, and then the really sad part, which, you know, like I said, I see all the time, is people release an album they spent maybe a year writing, and then, you know, it lands on social media and it's just, you know, no one cares, because they say, like, they put out a post or 2 and that's it. And, you know, it's one, you can feel mad that people don't care enough about your album, but you need to tell people that they care about your album. Right. You need to drill it into their heads that they care about your music. And I think once you cross that threshold, you know, promotion just becomes so much easier. It's like, just assume that people don't give a shit, and then do everything you can to make them give a shit. So on Instagram, I'm posting, you know, stories every day. I'm doing a countdown, 30-day countdown to my album, updates every day on the story, post every day with reminders about the album. I'm DMing people every day about the album. People that watch my ads, I'm DMing them about my album. It's a really, like, it takes a lot of time, a lot of dedication, but learn to enjoy it and you won't regret it. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I mean, that's just the whole like DIY hustle of a synthwave, just, you know, the satisfaction of the satisfaction of like doing it yourself and like having this like, you know, finished product that people are enjoying. Yeah, exactly. I feel a lot of people don't have the confidence that maybe, I don't want to say they ought to, but I really wish they had with their music. So I know my music has, you know, gaps in it and things I could do better, but I'm still, you know, I'm super confident in, you know, in maybe where I'm going, not necessarily where I am now, but where I'm going. And you have to try and feel that. You have to try and have that mindset, because, you know, if you're not confident about your music, then you're not gonna pitch it confidently. You know, people are gonna move on quickly. So, you know, just be strong, I guess. Not very good at inspiring confidence in people, but the point's there. Yeah, exactly. Like you want to be proud of your stuff and be like, hey, like hey, you know, like cool, like check out this cool new thing I did. As opposed to like, yeah, hey, I made a song, you know, you might like it. Check it out if you don't mind. Yeah, like, exactly. Don't be afraid, because people see, you know. I'd love to know the stat. I reckon the average person consumes maybe 100 posts plus, probably a lot more every day on social media, and your post is going to be one of those. So make it stand out. Yeah, absolutely. Just like I said, just have some confidence in your work and you know, put yourself out there. Yeah, exactly. Nice. Well, so we've got a few more minutes here. So was there anything else you want to add or promote or anything like that? Not really. I mean, I came in for a nice chat, honestly. Yeah, I mean, again, my album's out on the 5th of November. It's mainly the sort of more chilled, dreamy stuff. There's actually a mid-tempo track. There's 2 mid-tempo tracks in there. But yeah, in terms of promotion, no, nothing at all. I mean, if you want to send me your music, anyone who's listening to this, you can find my Submit Hub profile on rogue-vhs.com, or just find me on Submit Hub. Yeah, DM's always open if you want to chat. That's it.
All right, cool. Well, thank you very much for joining me today. That was definitely very insightful as far as like, promoting yourself and stuff like that.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy talking about it. It's more of a mindset thing than anything. I think once you have the mindset, everything else falls into place. Like learning how to promote is one thing, but it always comes back to just being confident about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't stress it enough. I honestly can't.
Cool. Well, yeah. Well, thank you very much, and yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Patrick.
Bye. Thanks for watching. That was my conversation with Rogue VHS. Be sure to check him out on Bandcamp, Spotify, and more. Follow him on Twitter and Instagram, and check out his Synthwave Retrowave playlist on Spotify. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at PatrickKingArt. Make sure to check out the Synthwave Ultra playlist on Spotify for tons and tons of synthwave of every kind. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to this channel for more great synthwave conversations. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on Synthwave Ultra.